And if you guys would pay attention to what we say, no, this is their time. When I had problems with my son years back, I was very, very distressed. At the point I said, you're going to do, and we're living in Lagos, and I said, you're going to go and do this internship. And he said, no, I'm not. I said, of course you are. I went out for brunch with an old professor friend of mine, and he started laughing. Because when he met me, he could see I was distressed. I told him what the problem was, and he said to me, you are very involved in the future of work, and you've done a lot of work around the future of work. Now that is happening in your house, you have a problem. He said, "Oga, madam, what is your problem?" And he said to me, allow your son to mentor you. I was like, not sure about that. He said, they know what's on the ground. So allow him to lead you. So relax. You always like, why? He said, let him mentor you. Flip the coin and see how it goes. It was another growth for me. And I'd always had a way of engaging with my son, because I do ask him more questions and tell him. Being a single mom, you always try not to bother me. So if you say, oh, is this good? You say, yes, it's good. Mom's fine. But if you say, what could we have done differently? He will tell you something else, including this one day and Kuyi. But if you just ask him, you say, it's fine. Mom's fine, don't worry about it. So that was one of the things. So this is not a friendship without purpose. We've set a purpose for it. And you as the adult are to make sure you stay on point. And we'll be able to talk about that later. We always get confused about who's a mentor, who's a coach, and who's a sponsor. Mentoring is usually a longer period. We have kept it in the 6 months. But some people mentor you, they'll become your mentors for life. Now and again, you go back to them and sense check something. Now and again, you just invite them for a coffee just to say thank you for how they guided you. So your role is to guide, and you would give some advice. You share experiences and patterns. So it's not that you will be using your experience to ask the question. So you might say to them, so what might your best friend say to you if you share this problem with them? It causes a person to stop and think. So that thing that is going on in their head, that's making them go, and everybody doesn't like me, and the other day this happened, and then you say, so if you told this to your best friend, what advice might they give you? They'll stop. That is when fresh thinking happens. So these are some of the powerful questions as a mentor. You need to have a bank of them so that you can stop the prefrontal cortex, which is right here. Now that is the brain box. This, I call it the prima donna. When she steps into a room, you'll find that after a mentoring session, you're so exhausted because it sucks up energy. The brain is very smart. It likes shortcuts. So came to a meeting, this person asked this question, this was the answer, it takes it. Every time you ask the question, it'll give you that answer. It saves time on it. So you get, this is how we do it. You hear, this is how, they don't want to stop and think. They'll use the route, it's the left-hand route, that's where we pass, that's how we do it. Once you stop the thinking by asking a powerful question, the PFC steps in the room and says, okay, what is another direction we could have used? By stopping that, and when the PFC steps in, it starts to look for different information. And if you do that, then you are the best mentor because you stop that person and suddenly you see them do sometimes they'll go, ah, or they'll scratch their head a bit. Some people even burst into tears. That's when the insights come because you're building fresh thinking for them. There's a mutual value exchange. It also helps them build judgment because you're talking about their values, the principles. So a mentor does these kind of things. Whereas with a coach is goal specific. And coaching tends to happen a lot more in the work environment. I want to be promoted. I want to become a manager. I want to be able to move to this. Or your communication skills are poor. Or all your team have left because you're a wicked witch. So how can we make you less of a wicked witch? So we give you a coach. So it's very much time-bound, has professional methodology, and it's a non-directive approach. Then you come to a sponsor. You know when you say that you must have people who speak your name in rooms where you are not. That sponsor usually has a relationship with you. So you can't just expect that someone who doesn't know you, hasn't heard of you before, then you go and say, oh, I'm looking, please, can you do this and that for me? It's going, no, your sponsor will be in a room. They'll be talking about something and say, there's a Mr. Chiano that I know can do this job. They put their neck on the line for you. It's a trust and a belief thing. So a sponsor is quite different. So you find some people, they move, they say, oh, this one's got a godfather. No, they have good sponsors. I got to an age and I said, I don't want to be mentored though. Please, I'm looking for a sponsor. Because we're not in the big league. We need someone who will say that, oh, Rosie can do that for you. I trust her to do it for you. She has done it for A and B. That's what a sponsor does. And in some cases, you will morph into a sponsor because as you get to know your mentee, and as you get to understand them and see, because someone will come and pretend to be correct, then you realize that no, they are not actually. That's why it's going to take time to build that trust. One day they may come to you and say, Master, the thing I'll say, so you'll get to know them, and sometimes you'll be able to stick your neck out for them. I know these kids, they're really good. I was working with a couple of, there were two brothers, and they'd come to see me with their mom. We were trying to find them a place for internship. And so I asked one of the organizations I'm associated with. The younger one started internship about 2 weeks ago. The older one who needs it most, is at home. So I called him, I said, have they called you? He said, no. I said, but have you called me? And I'm thinking, so me, I should go and run around the loop for you, but you are sitting in your house waiting. He said, they haven't called. I said, why haven't you called me to tell me anything? Because I'd stuck my neck out for them. And there was a reason why they would take them. And so eventually, yes, I called somebody, I said, look, guy's been waiting, he just needs a bit of exposure. He's going back to school in, September. So even if it's just 3 weeks, just give him something to build his CV. But I was upset with him because I'd stuck my neck out for him. That's what sponsorship is about. And I've given you that card that I could have given to another young person. And there was another one said, I want an internship. I said, okay. I said, what's going on? Why? Oh, actually, I want national service. If you want national service, say you want national service. Different process. So I called, I said, oh, but my guy, he said, oh, I have told him that when they do, apparently they give a pin, he should, as soon as he gets the pin, he should call, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay. Sponsorship is much more difficult because when the person lets you down, it affects your credibility as well. So it's not, those are the differences in it. You will find yourself shifting around these Because sometimes it will look like this, and other times you'll find that you can step up for someone and give them a chance. You may not in your life just have one sponsor. Atta Mills used to have TB Joshua, whom I thought would never die, but hey, that's just me. That was his spiritual mentor. There's reverse mentoring, like I said. I had to come and humble myself for my son to mentor me, and which I have enjoyed very well because I still get lessons. Yesterday we had like a 2-hour conversation about wealth. I'm like, oh Jesus, deliver me from this boy. And then when they said, oh, thank you for listening to my TED talk. I'm like, you don't say. Then you have a growth mentor, someone who looks at your career. And I know that some of you will become growth mentors to our kids. You would have your peer mentorship, which really works well for me personally because I like to learn from my friends. I always say to Emma, she's just a good person. Because whenever I come to anything, I come with my hands ready. She's like, oh, Nate. I'm like, oh, God. So you have friends you learn from. You look at the attitude and you pick something. Or you're going through, you find that in organizations, when you join an organization, if they're smart, you have a buddy system. Because that person has been through and can say that, do it like this, don't do it like this. So that is also important. Then you have a challenge mentor. Someone that when you want to get somewhere, you go to them and say, this is what I'm thinking. And then they'll look at you and say, oh, what if there was no ceiling? What would you do? And they're like, who put the ceiling there? You probably put the ceiling there yourself. Or you're thinking, but this job that I want to do, it's only men who are doing it. Does it require a third leg to do it? No. Okay, oh yeah, come and be doing now. So you will find someone who will just be straight up, honest, give it to you the way it goes, and you go away. I have a group of peer mentors, there are about 10 of them, and we meet maybe once a year. And maybe about 15 years ago, I set up what I call the table of 10. And these were like women of standing in society. And now we've all been all over the place. And when we are in a crowd together, we meet. And I was whining about, I'm so overwhelmed with work and da-da-da-da. And the worst of all, the women just stood and said, you are lucky. You know how many retirees don't have anything to do. He said, you have a major problem there. It's either they're not paying you enough or you're not organized. I was like, hey. So it's not like she's in a room with me. It's like there are 10 of us. She's telling me 10 a straight point. She said, no. If you're not paying you enough, then go back and have a conversation so that you can just shut up and get on with the work. And if you're not organized, then maybe you need to look at your schedule. You know that when you wake up in the morning, you have a bath and go sit in your study and do some work. But if you want to lie around in your bed and scroll and do Instagram, and then at 4 o'clock you go and sit at your desk, then you start bitching and whining to us, ain't gonna work. I tried my excuse. I could see it was like, and I went over and I thought she was actually right. I like to do the things I like to do. And then the work, no. I'm trying to, so like 1 o'clock, 1 a.m., you find me on my laptop because I've spent 2 hours in the gym. I've been in the garden for like another hour just looking at flowers. I don't actually garden. I'm the gardener gardens, I watch. And so I'd have done all this. Then I would have scrolled for 2 hours. Then I would have had a conversation on the phone for like 4 hours. And then suddenly it would be 5 o'clock. I'm like, damn, I have a presentation tomorrow. So I realized that the fault was with me. But only a peer mentor will tell you it in that way. So they are my tribe. And they're the same people that when we come together, they can look at the work you're doing and say, you need to change, or you need to change your attitude to this. So you need that. And then you might have the connector who opens doors for you, similar to a sponsor. Someone who whenever you meet and go away, you're either thinking, dang, I'm not doing enough, or I could do this. I have a young person who's about 40. I think she mentors me. And then suddenly I'll see her, and then yesterday she sent me something, she's there, and she's doing some job with Snapchat. I'm like, for real? How did you get there? Meanwhile, when she came and she went to stand on that place in Lavender Hill, you know where Lavender Hill, James Southern was doing sustainability pictures, picking things up and say, look at this Nike thing. So she's now known for doing sustainability stuff. So whenever she comes around me, I'm like, it always makes me feel inadequate because I have a heap of experience more than her. I can't keep up. She's always opening new doors. She's now done some glasses B, so Snapchat wanted to speak to her, and so suddenly she's on the stage with Snapchat, big billboard. I'm like, hey, let me double up. So 5 qualities of an effective mentor. Presence. You've got to be there. Listen to understand. Don't listen to teach or listen to say your own. When you sit with your mentee, put your phone away. You're not going to be able to pick up a call anyway. And if you do, then you failed completely. Put your phone away. Don't even have it with you there. Put it in your pocket, put it in your bag, put it wherever, but don't let it be seen there. Because every time a phone call comes through, you're going to break that connection. And it might be crucial to the mentee. So your presence, and then like children and animals, they can always detect fake. If you're there, oh, I'm so glad to see, they can think, uh-oh, it wasn't even ready for me. So, and be thoughtful about telling the truth. The fact that I say you should say it, you're nurturing someone. So think about what you're saying, even if it's not directly related to what it is. Why are you looking so rough today? That person immediately recoils. They could have come to you because something has happened that's making them look rough. If you study coaching, they'll tell you that a coachee will tell you when you say, oh, give me an idea of what you want to talk about, they'll say something. Then what we say is that they come to you and then they vomit all over the place because what they'll talk about is what is present for them. It might be completely different. Or you have a conversation based on maybe their challenge at work, and it will dovetail into the way they were treated by their mother. So you have to be thoughtful in how you hold these relationships. Again, ask questions more than give answers. So your wisdom is in the kind of questions you ask. You're not there to prove anything. You're not there to show them that you know and you've made it and everything. No. That wisdom that you have should be used in asking open-ended questions. Definitely, their path is not like ours. Those of us who study typing on the tete one, I used to go to night school for that one. And then we had to learn T-line shorthand, which was better than the Pitmans. It wasn't as difficult as the Pitmans, so we're learning all that. Now if they see that kind of typewriter, they'll say, what is this? Even cassette surf. Some people are asking you, but what did you do with this? Meanwhile, we'll be there with our pen doing like this. So our path and their paths are not the same. And you wonder, why does a young person even want to be mentored by someone as old as me or as you? But you can open their mind. That's what we're looking for. Curiosity is such a beautiful thing. So what else could you have done differently? And then ask them again, so anything else? That anything else question can open a whole new Pandora's box for you. Be patient. Show up every time. Always be there. When you say it's 2:00, be there. And impress when you make that contract with them that time. They can cancel 24 hours before, but not 3 hours before unless their mother has died. Listening is not waiting for your turn to speak, and is the most generous form of mentoring. Some people just can't stand even a minute. And if you time it, sometimes something is going on. It's just a minute. Just sit calmly. Don't be like, no. Just sit in the silence. Because guess what? The PFC in that person's brain just stood up. And so they're looking for direction, they're looking for information, they're looking for a different way because you've asked them a powerful question. And you've stopped them in their tracks. So allow them to think. Give them room to breathe. Let them suddenly realize, so this thing is not even scary. So that takes time to process for them. So you just sit. And you know, when you sit like that, the person feels compelled to say more. Because people are fond of filling empty spaces. The minute is quiet, they feel they have to say something. You sit and let them say what they have to say. If you're speaking to your mentee, body language. So you're sitting there, you folded your hands, you've crossed your legs, and you are looking like Yenintem. You just shut them off. So be aware of your own body language. And also think about their body language. You ask a question or they'll start telling you something, and they'll scratch their neck. And then they'll do something, or they'll start, you feel them become uncomfortable. Give them space. Sit and say something like, I noticed that question made you uncomfortable. Do you want to say more? So you're asking, you're not telling, or they say something and suddenly they pick up and their eyes are dancing, they're all animated. Oh, I see you really like that. Why has that made you feel so excited? Tell me about that. So again, you must, so that's why I say, pay attention to your mentee, or else you miss it. So when they sit there and they come and they're talking and suddenly something comes up and then they fold their hands and their face goes flat, I think that made you unhappy. You want to share a little bit more. And work with them like that. Don't jump in and start saying that. Some people don't even notice it. So make sure that you notice what's not said, even the hesitations. But don't push them. Can we circle back to this if it's not comfortable for you at the moment? Because about trust. So you can press a button and they think, Papa, we mean him, no. And so they don't want to tell you. Maybe in a month's time, they'll tell you. Don't interrupt with your own story. I do that with my friends a lot. Sometimes I think, are we even having a conversation or it's just me talking over them? But when it comes to Betty, you just, please, don't interrupt them. Hey, last week, the same thing happened. How can it be the same? Or you haven't even asked any question, but then the solution is there. No, when you do these kind of things, when they happen to you, this is how you should do. Even last week, Auntie Janet said that this is what happened. And in the long run, it didn't work for her. Hello, take a heartbeat. So we talked about your phone, the when I was your age thing. That's my biggest fear. And then, you'll be fine, don't worry. Huh? And because of faith-based thing, should we be doing that? You pray about it, and the answer will come. No, the answer has been sent through you. So make sure that you have these things and your mind, and allow them to be, don't be judgmental. And don't think they don't know. I have tried that and failed severally with my son, because when he says something, I think, we him then. I don't say it there. Then I go and Google it. Then I see he's right, then I come back quietly. So what I had to confess to him, I say, hey, wait, because they consume information so quickly in a way that we have no clue. That's why your young friend or your kid can sit there, the TV will be on, you'll be on his laptop, you have something going on the phone, and they consume information in a way that you can't. And they come across a lot. So don't think that you know better than them. They haven't been knocked down enough. Maybe that's the difference. Or they haven't had someone show them a path. But the information they hold and their experiences are very different from yours. Talked about questions. We've talked about your experience guiding you to ask the right questions. So we are not there to show off our experience. Your experience should show through the kind of questions that you ask. And make sure that you are asking open questions and deepening the conversation. So when they're saying something, don't let them get away with stuff. Oh, it's because nobody likes me. Can you share a time when you've experienced that? So that whole nobody likes me becomes a different conversation. Now the person has to stop and think. That was an easy way. In work, you have people say, you are leaving there. Why are you leaving? Oh, the money is better in the other place. That's not the truth. Money doesn't drive people to change jobs. That is not the number one. So when they use words like, I'm too busy. Oh, so what have you been spending? Would you like to tell me what you've been spending your time on recently? What has been taking up your time? Then if you're like me, you realize that it's the scrolling, no neukun. And you have to check your own self. And then action. Don't just leave it open. So what is the next smallest step you could take? So who do you think you could talk to about that? So get them into that action, but don't tell them. If you go and see Osofo Solomon, he will help you with this. No. Ask them who they think they should have the next conversation with. Let them think themselves so that it's meaningful. When you tell people what to do, you trigger in them a sense of flight. They feel like they've got to protect themselves because in a way you're telling them they're not competent enough. They don't know enough. They're not smart enough. So they flee. And so you can give them 5 things. Come back to them and say, you didn't do any of the things I told you. So we're on it. But then by you just telling them, you've stopped them from doing something they could do. By you constantly sharing your story in that sort of, because they're like, no. And when you want to say something, ask them, would you mind if I shared my experience with you? Now, when you ask the question, please wait for an answer. So don't just say, would you mind if and you know that? You find some, especially the young ones, will say, I said, we're having a session, and my son said, you're actually not helping me. Akola. He said, you're busy using examples from other people's life. You are not listening to me, and you're not helping me. I said, okay, can we come to this at another time? I think I've lost my way a bit. So they will tell you. So when you ask, wait for the response. It's very important. And then they are ready to receive. So don't just ask the permission and say, oh, can I? And then you reflect. Sometimes they'll say something and say, can I reflect that back to you? It seems like I'm hearing. Then you're able to summarize and say, you said this and that and that. Am I correct? Can you correct me? Because sometimes we hear something, but that's not what they really want to say. So you allow them to do that. Insights, you arrive at insights and they're personal. You don't arrive at an insight for them. You say something that triggers something in their mind, that gives them suddenly some courage to take a step that they would otherwise not have taken. If God was in the room, what do you think he would have said? If you said this to your best friend, what would they have said? If there was no cap, if you could do anything you wanted, what would you do? If you could have any job you wanted, what job would that be? Describe it to me. So, what if you got the opportunity today? What skills do you have that could deliver that? Talk to me about that. So you're seeking information from them all the time. And they will use that information. When they go away and they reflect, they will think about it. The 6-month journey starts with, the first month is connecting with them, building trust, who they are, what are some of the things that are on their mind. And then the next month you can start exploring. So you hear their challenges, their goals, what are their strengths, what are the areas that they're really interested in. Month 3 takes you into the stretch. This is when you've learned something about them, so you can ask them further questions. And so that is when you challenge them, you create comfort zones for them so that they can breathe in the session, and then you help them set their goals. Month 4 takes you into deepening the relationship. Some of the things they've said, you can go back to it. And the other time you talked about this, are you comfortable to go back to that and tell me more about that? And how is that helping you in the work you're doing today? What do you need to change to make it work for you? The 5th month, you're accelerating to some sort of an end. And then you come to the final month, which is really around bringing things to a close, celebrating them, because in 6 months, a lot can happen. Some people even change jobs. Some people will be able to ask some questions that they would never have asked, and it would shift their life. So make sure that you're able to reflect, and then you can see them emerge into their new lives. Your first meeting, you should try and make that an in-person, so you get a full sense of the person. Be vulnerable first. Share your story. That is when you are literally contracting. So you're telling them things about, this is my background, this is who am I. Are you comfortable to continue with this relationship? Someone might see you and think, remember we didn't pen out some crap. Give them the room so that they can decide that they don't want to be with you. Set the ground rules. Tell them each time you meet with them that this is a confidential conversation. This is a safe space. It's not like you're their mother, you church people especially, not that you're their mother's friend. So, hey, woba no. You don't know what your child is, some big. No, please. So every time you meet, tell them that this is a confidential conversation. Agree on the format. How you meet, how many times, where you meet. It always has to be a quiet place. So don't go and meet them at honeysuckle. There's too much distraction. So make sure that you create that space. And then set 2 or 3 initial goals together so that you know how to support them. And then sometimes you need to ask them, when you're contracting, what would be most valuable to you in our discussions? So you go through that, you explore, you stretch, you accelerate. You know there's a midpoint, so around about November, you'll be looking at them and saying, how are we doing? I love asking my mentees at the end of each session, was this useful to you? What would have made it better? So you ask them those questions. You have your toolkit, but the 3C framework is what you use. So you contract. So that is when you say, this is how we're going to work together. What are the things? And you bring that together. You connect, so you're building the actual relationship. And so that would where you build trust, you share some stories with permission, you're honest, you're vulnerable as well. And then C is around sustaining, evaluating, evolving, and all that. You find these in your handbook as well. So a suggested structure is start with an opening prayer, right? Ask them how they are, of course, and create that space. And then, what did you commit to in the last session, for instance? If you made some commitments, check in with them how that's going. What happened? What didn't happen? Please, it's not an accountability partner. You're not going to be caning them when they don't do it. Maybe you might ask them, so what do you think prevented you from achieving that? Because something may have happened. And then go into the main conversation, and the mentee leads. So if it was any other place, you say, what would you like to talk about today? Because they may have said they wanted to talk about something else, but something major just happened to them, and that's on their mind. Now, if it was a normal session, I'll just say, can we clear the room? Would you like some water? Okay, then I would say something like maybe, we're clearing the space. So I'd say maybe this morning, my car broke down, so it was quite challenging. It was on my mind. But now that I've put it out there, I think I can focus on the session. So you ask them, is there anything bothering you? Is there anything that you need to clear from your mind before we get on with it? So you do that as well, if you choose to. Or by the prayer and all that, you've cleared the room, you've cleared the space. And then you always prepare for it. Sometimes if it's a very difficult client, I find that it might take me an hour because I have to go back and review my notes from when we met. I ask permission to write when I'm with my mentee. So you may go back and look at it. What were some of the points that maybe you didn't challenge them enough on, or you skipped or whatever, so you have to do that as well. And then at the end of all that, what will you do before we next meet? Or I'll review all you said no. What is the one small step that you'll take tomorrow? So help them to be specific. And that is where your wisdom comes in. So guide them in that so that they can actually focus on something rather than just thinking, oh, that was a great session. No, let them go away and be thinking that, okay, I committed to this. And let them think about it. And then ask them, what is the one thing you're taking away from the session today you'd like to share? And then say your closing prayer. It should take about an hour. Some people can talk if you let them talk. And some can really run away with it. They're jumping from here to here to here. And you say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but could you probably pick one thing from what you said that would be your biggest priority or that you want to get the most out of? That will stop them. Because some people just run and you're there and you're thinking, I don't know what she wants. So bring them back to it and say, what is the one thing? You've said a number of things, and let me reflect back. You've talked about this, you've talked about this, you've talked about this. Which one would you like us to focus on today? Again, that will bring them back to the table. They want meaning. They're purpose-driven. If they're not getting anything from the conversation, they won't come. And you live with them in their houses, in your houses, They want to understand, what are you doing that for? So don't be draconian about it. Children are meant to be seen and not heard. That's not where we are. They want to know why it matters. Why does it matter? And then they want authenticity, that honesty, that vulnerability, that sharing, that not being so shiny and put together. They want to understand that. And they can spot you from a mile off when you're being fake about it. It's almost like everything went well for you. Not true. And then they want their voice. They want to be heard. So they're not looking to you to come and give them some lecture like we're doing today. They don't want that. It's got to be that way. And then, hey presto, whilst you're mentoring, you will remember things that you've forgotten. That will help you. It's really a two-way thing. You walk away thinking, I'd quite forgotten that. And then you start using it again. And then they have skills that you don't have. So some of them will say, oh, but can't you do this on your phone? And then they'll show you, you're like, oh, sir. I met someone who keeps saying, she always says, chat GPT. And I said, Damaka, what's your thumb? Like, the chat GTP or GPT, or which one is it? They will teach you things, and they'll just teach you something small, and then you are sorted. So always look, and they feel valued as well, because they know things that we don't know. And they have time for things that you don't have time for, I can tell you for free. So always look out for that reversal, that role reversal, so that you also get the book, and you will get a lot from the relationship. I always love it, because when I prepare for mentoring, I always go back and I read something. And I'm like, oh, why don't I do that, cry? So it really helps me also refresh my attitude. And they're so bold. They're not afraid of anything. And I think when I was young, me too, I was like that. I didn't have any fear. But now you've become so, hey, don't go, ball. Hey, what are you? You're going to Botiano. Hey, you're going to Botiano. Uko Beach. But one way I was like, yeah, it's Easter Monday, so we're tripping, we're off. And they will refresh you. And you see that you cry, the things that you're afraid of, cry, they are not anything biara. And then the boundaries. Confidentiality, as we know, is important. Role clarity. You're not a therapist. You're not their mom. You're not their counselor, and you're not their pastor. If they need professional help, tell them that I think you'd benefit from speaking to somebody who can, and see what you can do to help them. That's why you have a team here as well. If something is not going well, and the golden rule, if you wouldn't be comfortable with the program coordinator or your fellow mentor seeing it, then reconsider. So if you see yourself taking an action that you think that, if Patrick sees this, it will be bad, then you know that you're going on a path you shouldn't. Because you've got to be cautious. Some people may even think that, even to get a car to come here, then it starts becoming a money relationship. Then you feel like, every time they come, you have to give them $50 to get home. No, it's not about that, and you must cut that out. You might even suggest, okay, let's do it on a WhatsApp call. So don't do that. Don't go into a romantic relationship. Don't get into business entanglements. You're like, there's this a business B, and I wondered if you wanted, maybe you could put 2,000 in it, and yes, yeah, we're K. Then suddenly you become a business partner. The money is gone, and so now the mentor-mentee relationship too has gone with the 2,000 CDs. So please, let's be careful. Let me just finish this bit, and then it's okay to limit nighttime calls. If I say, I'm not free till 10 o'clock, can I call you? They'll send you a chat out of the blue. Please, can I call you now? They've moved off the table and they've suddenly become somebody who everything, no, they're calling you. No, it's okay to say, no, you can't speak to me at this moment, but you can call me at 10 o'clock in the morning. And don't be afraid. Are they going to go? If they commit suicide, they are ill. It's a different thing, and you should have spotted, or you could have spotted it, because people that you live with who commit suicide, you don't even know. But don't be like, hey, I'm unfair. No. So let's set those boundaries. I think Sophie wants to say something. Yes, sir. is real. And so sometimes you find that someone would always come and always have a problem. But everybody always has a problem. As they say, so the grass is greener on the other side because the water bill is higher. So they will come with that. And you should question them. What do you think has put you into this situation? Tell me about that. Is this something you're always battling with? And sometimes people at church have come to you and said, we want this. And I said, have you spoken to the welfare committee at church? You go and have a conversation with them. Or I've turned you to friends and family. They're the first place you go. So I won't start the relationship with you. Would it be more comfortable for our next meeting if we had it on WhatsApp? Because that would save you some money. And then perhaps you can then prepare for the one after that. So I'll try and give you but I won't get myself in the situation where I'm now funding the relationship, because mentoring happens online all the time. And you just talked about the UK guys that you're mentoring. So there are other ways and other avenues. That's why we said try and make the first meeting in person, and then agree in your contracting that, okay, well, every other session will be online, or so and so. Or if they come with like, I don't have a job, take a beat. What are the jobs you're interested in? How have you gone about this? Tell me, what are the other ways that you think could help you in getting a job? What are so the questions always go to them. The very experienced mentors, they don't even prepare before a session. 5 minutes, they'll just check, they'll go and sit there, because they say, we don't do any work, they do the work. So they come in, they know their questions because they've done it for a while. They come and sit there, and then they ask you a question. And they leave you, you talk, then they'll ask, the guy who taught me coaching, he has like 4 questions. That's all. Leave you can run, you go and come, and you'll be like, Then you pop you another question. You go round, you come to your own, then you give you another one. Take you out. So they come in, they say, we know, we just have to listen. They have to listen so they can know where to put the question and how to put the question for you. So yes, people will come to you with, especially in Ghana, job requests are number 1. If you mention mentoring, they think you're going to go and find them a job. And it's not just in the church, it's everywhere. If you go and speak somewhere now, by the time there are 15 people standing there waiting for you, can you mentor me? And I'm like, okay. What did you find out about me? Tell me about me. Nothing. Okay. Which area do you think I could mentor you in? Nothing. They came and they heard the English, no, they're like, mentor me. They don't want to, they haven't done any work. Once you ask them the question, you see them like, even the 15, you'll be left with maybe just one person. Because they hear the thing and they hear you talking, then they're like, we're ready for this. So those are the kind of things that please be attuned, because of our particular challenging environment. Our industries are not vibrant. So job will always come first. And yes, we'll have, when we launch, we needed to make sure that the mentors at least are at the ready, and then the mentees, will get them one, like a communion Sunday, take them through it, but then we'll launch the website to them first after we finish it, and then they can start their bit as well. You must know when to refer. When the conversation needs a psychologist, a doctor, a minister, don't take it on yourself, because you could do more damage. And ask their permission. Say, I think this would be helpful for you. We'll do a quick scenario play. And then we had a bank of questions just to help you. Doctor, you've got them. The questions are just so that when you have the conversation, just 2 minutes each, and pair with someone you don't know well, or you know yourself very well, but just pair with someone, and one is the mentor, one is the mentee. The mentee must share a real low stakes challenge. See, so this is not the one that you bring that, my boss has been, and then it's a 20 minutes conversation. You got 2 minutes. Share a low stakes. The mentor, your job is only ask questions. So don't give advice, don't share your story, don't give a solution. You've got 3 minutes, so you listen for 2 minutes. And then your 3 minutes, you ask a question, listen for the answer, watch the body language, look at the response. And then so that's 5 minutes, and then swap roles. That's all you need to do. And then we'll take just about 3 or 4 responses from the room. You're practicing listening. You're not practicing being experienced or being impressive or anything. So 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. No, they have the questions on it. So if you want to pick a question from here, you can. If in the conversation you have your own question, it's perfect. This is just to help. It's not stopping you from anything. Your time starts in 1 minute. That puts us at 10 to 12. So we're going to overrun. It puts us at 10 to 12. 2 minutes for the mentee to talk. Don't interrupt. And then 3 minutes, mentor will ask questions. Don't give any solutions. Don't tell your story. Ask questions because you've listened for 2 minutes. Active listening. We start now. Yeah, I'm not going to stop you. When you get to your 2 minutes, swap over and do the 3 minutes. So mentee speak for 2 minutes, uninterrupted. Mentor, you've got 3 minutes, ask questions, get the answers, that's all. Don't prefer any solutions. I will only stop you at 5 minutes when you change over, and then the mentor becomes the mentee, and the same process happens. Thank you, everyone. Thoroughly enjoyable. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions of this. What did you find difficult in this session? Icebreaker. What do you mean by icebreaker? Tell me more, please. Mm-hmm. Mm. That's starting bit. Mm. Good. Which is really true, especially when you kind of know the person, and your mentee may be someone that you know from church. You see them every day, they greet you every day. So it's always good to start off with, what would you like to talk about today? So that pushes it to them to think about what really matters to them. Yes, please.
I think familiarity. Just brothers that you're so familiar. And that was fine. Remember that.
There's a structure. That's. You have a question there. You want to ask your question now because you need to leave now. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
This is a great initiative. During our session, mentor, this is how you know the mentee. I think we went to a meeting, she ended up mentioning very interesting insights. But one question that came up when she was acting as a mentee was that I don't have money. Okay, then we can organize an online session. And she said,
I don't have data. I haven't thought about that. What do you think? Let me throw it to the room. I don't have an answer. No, he has a say. So if somebody said that to you, what would you say? Joyce? Okay. The cost. Yeah.
thank you very much. And then only one last thing. On the website, when I reviewed the website, the motive of the group, for the initiative. The very first
Page.
talks about ambitious youth. So that ambitious you are willing to be guided. I was thinking that word ambitious. Ambitious young people. Some young people already certain drive. Is a platform. People who may not even have a drive, help to have a drive, perhaps build our ambition. So in order not to make those who perhaps lack confidence or come from a disadvantaged background desiring to grow. Exactly. Something like that. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. That's
Difficult session. He started off by saying he wanted work. In school, he needs a job. I'm trying to hear the conversation, and I was struggling with proposing solutions. And he was also, I felt, quite fixated on what he thought his plan was, which was to get a job so that he can pay his way and get his chartered accountancy. I really struggled. I brought in was that I didn't get the point at which, because I asked some suggestions. I thought that if what he wanted was a job, and it couldn't be in this, could it be? But I was struggling with whether to mention some of the options, whether it was okay for me to mention some of the options that I thought that we could consider. That was my number. I even went into the Bible. I told him about how Israel, when they were going to Canaan, 40-day journey ended up with how many years? Because of the detour.
deep,
Life
deep,
is not about this straight line. But still, yeah. So I think I need help. Because I think some people will just corner you.
Yeah.
Trying to change it to what else? He wants to be a chartered accountant, so his objective is to be a chartered accountant to make money. Full stop. You know, in spite of where I thought that I was trying to lead it. So how do you want to
No, you are absolutely right, because that's one of the things I find challenging when mentoring the younger people, because they come from different backgrounds, and some genuinely don't have any help. So some other person may be, so you are like, yeah, who? Because then you get desperate. So it's a reality. And yet sometimes you'll find that's what I'm saying, that there will be different mentors in your life. So sometimes you find that you would give them, you'd send them somewhere to get a job. So I said that you would morph in your role. So sometimes you find that you become a sponsor. Because really, some people are in dire straits. Some will take the mic, they'll be like, I need this. And so, but you try and ask a question. Sometimes you might say, let's circle back to this. But I want you to go away and think about 3 solutions for yourself. And when you come the next time, let's discuss what you've come up with. So if you had no limit, what are the organizations you would like to work in? Name 3. And then how would you approach these organizations then? They may say, oh, maybe I'll write to them, maybe I'll go and visit them. So what has stopped you from contacting them? What are the avenues you could probably use to contact them? He doesn't know that's normal. After a rejection there, I don't want to count that one. But 70 times 7. But in reality, that will be the most challenging part of this relationship. It will be money and jobs. Because people think once they have a job, they are sorted. But so you also have to really still try and get them to think, no, and they'll think that I'm meant to because they are coming in, they want the job. So in picking their people as well, you find that they'll pick people who look shiny. Because this one may be Onimobi. So they will only pick people who look shiny, and there'll be people who have really got experience that can help them. So it's not an easy answer, but you have to tell them that, what do you think you should do? These are, okay, can you come back and give me your responses? Because sometimes, some people don't even know there's LinkedIn. They've never even gone on LinkedIn before. They don't know what happens there. So sometimes you have to really draw them there and sometimes even show them. Because if you don't, I had this young guy, he didn't even know about LinkedIn. I took him on the page and I showed him that, you could find jobs here. Some people don't know about job boards. They're just lost. And that is where, when I'm mentoring a young one, my time goes into, because it's so removed from my reality. So I sometimes have to think and then ask some other young people, so when you were looking for a job, where did you go? Oh, my mommy, my daddy, my auntie, and I'm like, okay, I did this, I did that. So I always look for solutions before, because I know that the first meeting, whether I like it or not, is money or job. If you get away with it, then you are lucky. But even if they are in a job, they're still looking because people want to do well. We'll have to bring, yes.
Session for the mentees. And then, so beyond the orientation and beyond the assuring them of confidentiality, one of the things we may have to do will be to discuss expectations or objectives of the relationship. I think that will also be very helpful to set the tone before we take off. Thank you.
The contracting is so important because that's why it says that set 2 or 3 goals between the two of you. This is what we want to achieve out of the session. And don't monocuddle it and say that, oh, you can fix it. No, this is not about. So do that, this is not about, and this is about equipping you. So this is not about financial support. And this is not directly related to employment. This is to give you the tools to equip you so that in the contracting, it's clear to them that it's not just going, this, we just jumped into it to pick some insights, but it's very critical, Patrick. Got a question?
Thank you very much.
No, no worries. Ideally, they shouldn't be hearing the truth. They should be arriving at their truth. So the questions will save your life because you are not telling. That's a critical point. You're not telling them anything, you're guiding them. So you would ask them a question, and so sometimes you find that someone is like, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that will work in today's world, because sometimes they also use your age to knock you off the pitch. And then you're like, so what would you suggest? How would you go at this? If I was facing that problem, how would you advise me? What would be your view? So it's always directed at them. So you're always pushing and deepening that. How could you have done this differently? So what if you were the problem? So they'll tell you something and as if, they say, so let's flip the coin. What if you were the problem? How would you handle it? You have another question there? No? Was that helpful? I'm going to go to Joyce before I come to you, Doctor. You stopped that one. Ask them. Ask your mentee. And then if there's something that they're really into, that let him set you up. So if you realize that he's very much into Instagram, and everything he's coming is advice from TikTok, then ask him why the fixation with it? What would you be doing other than, etc. And then, yes, go there and see what's going on there. And it's for, people use it for good as for evil. It depends on who's driving the car. So I'm very alive on the platform, but I'm not a TikTok fan. Even though it finds its way, me sometimes I'm not. I just think, how many things do I want to scroll now? I don't want to get so. But I learn a lot from the sites. It depends on how you use it. So your mentee, try and find out from them how social media has impacted their life. And then try and understand a little bit more about it. Doctor.
Thank you. Important. The idea of so much, so we should also have that. Somebody might be in a leadership at a church level. How do I get myself to be a good leader? Be telling an be satisfied. So we shouldn't just be thinking our job as in formal business setting.
Thank you. Kirk.
Thank you very much.
Offer you the money, mind you. Oh, serious?
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Because other than that, we might end up. Yes, we have to be moving on. Too much.
No, it's good. It's a good point because it looks to the area of, you have to be honest. And you see, that's one of the things I would say that mentors must be honest. They must, all those criteria, but be thoughtful about how you put it. It's a conversation. So be thoughtful about how you put your response to their challenges because they feel it deeply. So if you brush it aside, or you say "Nyamebeye," or you say, and then it means you are not performing. And no, ask them, can you afford it? Is this the right time for you? What else would you do if you were not doing, let's say, a master's? How long do you think it will take you to build up the funds? How will you? So the questions are going to help, but then you have to be honest. And we said, don't let them off. So let them commit to something. Don't just let them off, but you have to be honest with them. But you must remember to be kind as well. Because people are fragile. Okay. Let me come to Mr. Safer.
So you cannot talk to them and then go on Instagram. So then they get their advices. So come and talk about somebody said, so years ago, I didn't have those accounts. I realized that my students were worrying me. So, so whatever happens, one they mention, I also know. Sometimes I even mention it to them. So yes, madam, this is what you think about. So please, it's not that difficult to go to Instagram, to go to TikTok, so that of the AI app. So this is the other one. There's also Claude.
There's Claude, Gemini, they're there.
It doesn't take so much time. You will not, I don't remember go there to see what best is. Other than that, they come to one of the places you don't understand your language.
Okay. ChatGPT will help you. It's,
I remember one time, and one of my classmates opened the ground and went to WhatsApp, search for AI, the picture of the people. All of us said, what all the information about the thing came out to use it, set love about the. So from that time, I think when I was doing a presentation for women, I did mention that. From that time, even at work, if I'm not sure about something, I just take a picture of the component, item, or whatever. Give me everything. And I tell even the younger ones, then they are like, hey, you know some stuff. I said, no. You see, I'm teaching you to your own game. You have your phone, you're always doing this and that. Even the TikTok, if you go there and you want to look for your car, your whatever engineering component, everything that you don't know, it will give you everything, give you videos. So, I mean, we need to explore that. If they know that, if you are talking to the young ones and they know that, okay, you also know something about, they come to believe you more, rather than they know that you are blind in that sport.
Yeah.
Okay. Just on the part of the job, my comment is that we could be having a point where we invited to become the coach sponsor. My question is, what's the benefit for that? Because if I'm with a mentee and a owner trying to work, feel I can sponsor. Why press the button? Take my neck. Or myself. Yes. Having that, they will be there.
thank you for that. I think the journey will shift and morph. Now, that's why there's a trust element. If you're with a young person and you feel that they just haven't had the opportunity, but they could do whatever it is, you can put them up for it. It's based on your credibility. So you have to be comfortable with the fact that you're putting them up for that. And you are the one who is mentoring them, so you should try and make sure that they have the capabilities. So you're not going to now go and teach them something technical, but you're going to help them along the way to say that, look, you've got to make sure you turn up to work on time because this guy doesn't play with his work. If you are late, obey Wedi. You know, those kinds. So you still have to continue to give them that support. So even though we would say 6 months, you find that the relationships grow over time. They may not need you all the time, but now and again they'll come to you. Now and again, something will come up and you think, that young guy, Kwesi can do this. And you will call him and say, Charlie, there's an opportunity. Do you have time? So you will find that your role will shift. Just that you can't go and give medical advice, so it will never shift into that. No, but even in the coaching, someone will have like a professional challenge. Someone will pick you because of the job you do. Because they want to learn when they want to progress. And they'll need someone to even help them in maybe how to communicate with their boss. So it will come in different shapes, but you will be able to determine, when it comes to sponsorship, it's purely on trust and credibility. So you have to be comfortable. You don't need permission from anyone. You have to be comfortable with it. But you can't come back to the committee that I gave this guy a job and they said he stole all the money in the place. They walk amongst us. There, you would mentor in different spaces. So you find that we say 6 months because it's enough to build trust, it's enough to deepen a conversation, and it's enough to start getting some results. When I mentor professionally, I agree with you from the outset, it's going to be 6 sessions, and we're going to meet every 2 weeks or once a month. So we set it up then. Somebody will say, coming to the 4th session, I want to extend. And then you have the conversation, and then you say, okay, I think, because sometimes you don't want to get into a forever relationship, you know, and especially if they're paying you, it's so easy to say, okay, but then you stop adding value. You don't want to be that person, but then often you would have, I normally would do a 6 month to a year. And then if you want anything additional, we have to, if you like, renegotiate. But 6 months is enough time for you to get a sense of the person, especially if you're asking the right questions. And you can't continue to lie, because you ask a question, you get one answer. You ask a similar question, you get a different answer. Then you have to reconcile and say, can I just check in with you? This is what you said, but it looks like this is what you say now. Can you help me to understand? And then you pull them back into it. But 6 months is about enough for them to get something out. In your first mentoring session, even if we're done like 10 minutes each, you would have been surprised. I don't know whether any of you got insights out of your conversations. But even as you speak the thing and you're not being interrupted, as you're talking, your mind is kind of saying, why didn't I think about that myself? So even if you gave it 10 minutes, even with your friend, if your friend said to you, tell me what you're sensing, and they start talking and you don't interrupt, they will arrive at solutions themselves. So even in your first mentoring session, you can get, that person can arrive at insights and want to come back for more. Or mentors wouldn't, those who do it for a living won't get paid. But even in your first session, bang, ask a question and it's like, I didn't think about that. And they come back for more. I'll go to Anita and then I'll come to, okay, and then Emma. Check with them again what their expectation was. Go back to that and say that it appears to me that you are losing interest. Can we go back and look at the goals that we set? If we're not achieving that, what do we need to do differently? So you will go back to that contracting period, that first month where you're getting as much information about what do they want, what are they expecting, what can you work on together? If you come and tell me that you want to get a job within 6 months, I don't own that. So I'm not going to commit to that goal. I might be able to help you in you arriving at avenues where you could seek a job. So that contracting period is very important. And some people will contract with you, but after a while they'll think, this thing cries, not what, they're not, she hasn't got a job for me, so I don't want to come again. And you'll see it in their behavior. So check in with them and say, I noticed that you canceled the last meeting and you've canceled again. Is there something that I can do to help? Is there anything that is stopping you from building this relationship? So be quite direct about it in that manner. Because once they start showing those signs, there's something. It could either be, if she says, oh, because I don't have money to do it, I wish you had told me because we could have moved this online, for instance. Emma? I'll come to Emma and then I'll come to you.
learning quite a bit. They are doing their emanating because a lot of presentations in my older adults, and I have teenagers, and the point you made about you want something. There's so much in my home that I thought was okay. You want a hairstyle, you put it on your phone. I have forgotten how to change the battery in my car remote. That's on next day. It's amazing. So in this mentoring thing, and to see because they have a wealth of knowledge and information, and I think our job will be to give the guidance for them to eventually arrive at the science. So
Thank you very much for those two. We'll come to you, Kirk. Let's go that way first. So, yes, I think that for any of the mentors who wants to review what they wrote, just write out what you want to, send it to me. We have a photographer here to take some pictures. If you've gone on the site, you see that we loaded my picture because sometimes they don't know your name. So if we put the picture there, then they'll know. What we've tried to do when it comes around data, you won't see the mentor's phone number and all that if you haven't applied, as in submitted. So it's set up in a way that it won't show up. You put in your information, then you get the email, right? So it means that number 4 who wants to get on your list will not be able to access it. So it's not like everybody can just start calling you. No, we've tried to put a few safeguards. It's not perfect, but we hope that we can continue to build that. Thank you. Over to you. We could even do something online, right? Which would make it easier for more people to get in. But it's so interesting what you've just said, because once you ask a certain question, the person it becomes a different conversation. And I think that your mentor was great. So sometimes they ask, how far away are you from achieving your goal? From 1 to 10, where would you place yourself? And you're like, then it forces you to think. So he asked some really great questions. I think Kirk had some. Yeah. Stick with your mentee. They're in the driving seat. Stick with your mentee because we all have dreams. Some of us live through our children vicariously and all that. And the child can get really hecked up. And you are the place where they can come and say, especially when you make them believe and understand that they're in a safe space. You are the one they're going to come to and tell you what they want to do. And you're the one who is giving them that. You're not guiding them on your way. They are the one in the driving seat, and you must always enable that in them. The parents will pull and push and say their own. And a lot of us don't listen at home. We really don't listen to our children because some are really good at it, but most of us, it's like the talking is too much crap. Because if you open the door, they will talk, I have one, so I know. They'll talk and you're like, okay, so where did we even start? Why did I even start this conversation? And I'll just say, but do it this way. Then they shut down. So when they come to you and you walk with them, they find it easier to express. And maybe the conversation you're having with them helps them to have a conversation with their parents. And I have one mentee that I know his parents, so every time he comes and we have a conversation, I say, have you told your parents? No, I need to talk to you first. So he will run things through his mind because he knows I'll ask the question. By the time he faces his father, who's a very public figure, he's got all his apo. So as the father is questioning and they don't know that we have that relationship. They just know that, we are friends. He's my young friend. But his parents don't know the depth of that relationship and the conversation. If they knew that I knew things before they even heard about it, they would be shocked. But he runs it by me because I'll ask him questions that they will ask him because they're also very learned. So they'll ask him those questions. By then, he's realized the foolishness of some of his ideas. And then there are some of them he'll take forward, and then he gets their support. So you'll be the sounding board, you'll be the truth person, you'll be the challenger, you'll be the person who stretches him, you'll be the person that drives him to understand that this thing, it's just like what Dr. Ifa did to you, so that you yourself understood that, Charlie, the cash is not there, the time is not right. And even if it wasn't cash, it could have been something else. And that you shouldn't just run with the pack because they're all going there. So those are the learnings that you picked up from a conversation. So you know that, okay, we are not keeping up with the Joneses. You do it in your time, and the train is never late. Last question, if any. So we did some commitment. There's a sheet somewhere for you to read, sign. The fiscal process to this. So put your name, give it back to us. We'll send you the handbook. Al Gilbert, Mr. Shaw. They'll send you the handbook.
Somebody asked a question on the page whether the session will be available for them. Yes, the session is available on YouTube, so it will also be posted for everybody to see, especially those who are not able to.
Please, will the time change? Because it says August to January.
The time will change slightly simply because we'll try and finalize. We need your photos and everything to go on the site. So we'll try and finalize that as quickly as possible so that you can then start the relationship. And then we'll meet with the youth as well. and talk to them about them and show them what it needs to be, and then so it may get to the end of August or early September. The time will change, but it's still a 6-month process. Some of you may start earlier than others because you can't really start anything till somebody comes to you. And I know sometimes you'll be able to also draw people into the program. Or your brinyanche, as a mentor, you don't do anything. They have to approach, they have to set the time, they have to do all that. But in our case, because we are trying to teach them new ways as well, you'll find that you support them a lot more. I think we've covered quite a bit. Ordinarily, it would have been much more interactive in the beginning, but because we had a limited time, it had to be a bit of a telling game, but yes. I think we've said 18 to 35. We've said 18 to 35, so in that. I don't think it'll take off with a bang. I'm always about expectations. I think it will take time. Just be alive to it that you may get one person, you may get no person this time round, but we'll announce it in church as well. So as they start looking for you, it will pick up. And as it picks up, people will learn that the mentoring will help them. It's about life skills, so it will help them. You should write your name, sign. What are you into? Review the mentor handbook when you get it. It will be posted on the site. Not by July, but we'll start with the getting them onto finishing the website and moving forward. You'll schedule and hold your first meeting once your mentee gets in touch. The WhatsApp group will give you support and resources as other things come up. And then we'll have at least a month, one check-in. And we'll hope to have more check-ins online. And for any of the check-ins, we're not going to say everybody must attend, but you find that there'll be a time when you want to talk about something. So come online and your colleague mentors will be there to help you. It's not going to be perfect, and we're not looking for perfect people. What we're looking for is honest people, men and women who are willing to be present, to be real, and to invest genuinely in the next generation of our community. So this is a journey that we're starting today. We're starting with you, and we're so grateful that you said yes. We will keep improving, but I believe that in the church we've all said that we need to do more with our youth, and we need to draw them closer to us. If we get nothing out of this, we'll get friendships. And they'll know there's some place to go when things look bleak. So I thank you so much for saying yes. And I'm going to hand over to Brother Charles to close out. There's a question there. Yes, Letitia.
Last question. Someone was asking, in the mental sleep. So I was asking, I was telling you that a program that you run, you have the option to be a mentor, and so you could also opt out to look for someone to mentor
mentor you.
Also, I don't know whether it's the same focus on
Let's start with our young, but then if the option becomes available, I'm going to Kirk. I'm ready with my hand up for that. You guide me, yes.
you done it. The only reason why they are showing up was they like us. Prayer topic. You listen to you, they are like, wow, I think there's a lot that I don't know how to. If you have some, it's not a generalized, but some of that is me, I think. Just make age immediately. That's 6 months I made.
No, it's serious. I mean, it really, you're being very truthful because I have a friend who said, she said to me, I've realized I've made some mistakes as a mom. And I said, no, we're not starting. We're starting from, I am a good mom. I always say to her, I said, I'm the best mom you could have had. I stand for you every day. I said, start from there. He said, but I look back and I think I shut them down. And so they don't say anything. And then now, I don't know. So she started going back to them and say that, asking them to, so what is the decision that you would like to make? Especially when a daughter said, I'm taking a year out. The person is in a breach. Are you going to go and fight them there? So now she had to start asking questions. And so she now said, oh, so how will you sponsor it? Because you're on a scholarship. So if you take a year out, have you looked at how it will impact? So now, and the daughter had done her research. So it wasn't your burden to carry. And it's always a problem. I have the same issue. My son said, oh, I'm always anxious about work. I think I have a poor mentality. I said, what do you mean? He said, because the kind of work he does, it means that he can be working and at the very top of his game, the next minute he hasn't got a job. And you have a job for like 6 months or 9 months. And then you get, because he's in AI, so the companies, they'll want it now, and the next minute they're like, oh, we think we should do this differently, or they don't get the number of clients. So then so he always has, and I said, please, so me, I have PTSD. I'm the one who's even more anxious than you. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation because, and he said, why, Mom? I said, because every time you don't have it, I'm the last stop. So even if I want to go and buy cream crackers today, if I buy the cream crackers now, I'm the one parent, so let me not buy. I said, so I said, I'm very anxious because I'm not in the driving seat. I don't control it. So even when you have a meeting, how does the meeting go? Because I need to know that it's okay. If it's okay, then maybe I'll go and buy one shoe. If it's okay, let me just be standing there quietly. I said, I'm suffering more than you because I don't control the conversations. He said, you're right, Mom. I said, yeah, that's our reality. You know, so when you look at things like that, I'm more anxious than the child. But I'm the one who still has to question him and get him focused on the right side. And I'm the one that he still has to teach and tell me the issues that are going on. I'll say, so have you thought about this? Do you think this will be successful? I said, so this Claude, what if this Claude breaks free and comes in?
Should I come back home? So then at some point I had to tell myself, well, maybe he's also growing. He's discovering himself and he's learning to live without me, which is also very necessary because I won't always be here. What if one day plane crash happens and I don't come back? So I started learning how to get used to it. But I also realized that when he really needs me, he calls me by himself. So you shouldn't always expect them to have something to tell you every day. Then last week I chanced on an article which said a lot of teenagers have one big problem, and that is they are tired of hearing your voice, no matter how right you are. But they are happy to hear another voice, even if the voice is telling them the same thing. This week I had his friend have vacation with me in Nigeria, together with him. I realized that my son was happy talking to my friend. My friend is a judge. And so he was happy talking to my friend, even though my friend was telling him literally the same things I tell him that he bluffs me about. And I realized that my friend's daughter was also happy talking to me. Say, you and mommy are so similar. Auntie Lydia, what do you think of this? And I realized she also was happy talking to me. Then the article made sense. So don't feel bad about it. It's part of their growing up. Sometimes let them talk to somebody else. Or sometimes just let them be. When they really want to talk to you, they'll come. Thank you.
I'll just add on real quick. The two teenage girls in my home are doing university applications. And I'm like, you people, you're not giving me updates. So each time I have to ask, so where are we with this? And then I realized that when my older sons, when they are home, they go to them naturally. They talk. They are up to date with everything they are doing. And then I relax. I'm like, I'm a very happy person, actually, because they have older brothers that have been where they are at recently, not as far back as I have been. So it's good, it's true. Sometimes they're talking to other people, and the things that you would say to them that they would kick against, the young men will tell them, and they are in a sweet place. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus.
On the last point I made, Joyce, I found something on social media called The Disappearing Mother. And when I read it, so the last 3 months, I've been in that thing. It's about how you give distance. Because like you, my son and I are like, he said, you're my best friend. You say, Mom, no judgment. Then you say what he has to say. And I read it and I thought, okay, we are not abrofo completely. We don't throw our children out at 18. But it was saying things to me about, you know, if you're a mother and you want to know everything about your son's account, how much money have you got? That's me. He said, back off. If you do this, back off. It doesn't say back, but it just says that allow the child, your child to grow. And so when I went away and I was spending time with him, yesterday he said to me, yes, I noticed that your attitude had changed. Me, you bought shoe, I'll come and do Google thing, I'll snap the shoe, I'll check the price. If you don't know and you ask me for money, I'm like, bisa we shoe though. This time I just shut up. I thought, okay, you want to spend your money like that, be spending, continue. Me too, but then it was just picking from the article and learning that I have to, you know, if you want to know more about his girlfriend than he knows about his girlfriend, please step up. It doesn't mean love them less. And when I read the whole thing, I thought, yeah, a lot of this thing is me. Because I want to be sure you're okay. So how much have you saved? I want to be sure that I say, I don't want any other, I only want a Ghanaian woman. Don't bring any some kind way concern you. So I went through that. I just said, your love should be there for your child. But do not try and make all the decisions and be, so I was a very good mother, but I was very exhausted. Because everything normally I would just say, I had to be like, and just hold it. And then bring myself back to my Ghana and come and mind my own business where I can speak my mind. But he said to me, I said, yeah, I noticed your attitude had changed. Because you weren't asking me all those Gestapo questions. And I said, well, I'm trying something different. I didn't share the article with him because he would take all the things I do. So I didn't share it with him, but I've checked myself. I'm going to hand over to Charles.